And Carter's objectives were a war of resistance to the elections, possibly leading to secession, even though it was a harebrained idea, and certainly based on training from the ultra-white right. One IFP member confirmed that he'd seen the bill for the training of IFP members in Northern Transvaal by the white right.
Here in the Rand and in Transvaal, there was certain camps where some of the Zulus were trained by AWB instructors.
Another tribal state was part of the alliance with the white right. Bophuthatswana, known as BOP, was largely rural and poor, yet the main threat to the transition was to come from here. BOP was scattered over 7 areas. Its showpiece was the capital, Mabato. The country had been recognized by South Africa as an independent state, though the rest of the world and the ANC refused recognition. Its president was Lucas Mangope. About a third of its budget was provided by South Africa. Under the constitution that had just been agreed, Bophuthatswana would cease to exist and become part of South Africa. Its army of 5,000 men was led partly by officers from the South African forces. Mangope would give no pledge to abandon his country's sovereign status, nor would he allow electoral activity in BOP.
President de Klerk came here, for instance, about 2, 3, 4 times, together with Mr. Pekbotha, to try and influence our president here to give in.
We said to him he could not prevent South Africans, and a vast number of the people living in his country are South African citizens, that they had a right to participate freely in democratic activities, meetings, and in the election.
Mangope denied that right. He formed a pact with General Viljoen, Chief Buthelezi, and the leader of another tribal state. This alliance of BOP with right-wing Afrikaners posed a serious threat to the whole transition to democracy.
The white right would have territory of BOP, access to BOP arsenals, and would have black cannon fodder through Nkata.
In particular, BOP's stand would stir up right-wingers in the South African army who were loyal to Viljoen.
Some of my colleagues and I feared very much that the echelons of the army might see this as the opportunity to try to prevent the transformation. We weren't certain of the degree of loyalty that we could attract from the upper echelons of the army.
BOP was effectively a one-party state whose police dealt firmly with political and other protests. They would not allow the ANC to campaign there. ANC agents warned BOP civil servants that Mangope's government would disappear on election day, and if he didn't allow the elections, there would be no one to pay their salaries and pensions. The civil servants demanded their money. Demonstrations and rioting spread. General Jack Turner was an advisor to President Mangope.
Even the security forces were being terrorized. Their houses were being burned down. Their families were being terrorized. They didn't know exactly if they go home that evening, is their house still going to be intact?
But Mangope stood firm. When some of his black soldiers urged him to abandon his independence, he said he had powerful friends.
He warned the defense force. He said to them on that day, "Look, gentlemen, if you feel you cannot toe the line with me, give me that which is mine. And leave the defense force. I'll go and get some other people to come and be in this defense force."
The other people the BOP president counted on were Viljoen's militia of army reservists, mostly Afrikaner farmers who were members of the broad Volksfront alliance. As disturbances in BOP continued, Mangope saw himself as the victim of a conspiracy.
For the good of South Africa, I want to expose the African National Congress, the Communist Party, and the South African government for what they are. For much too long, ever since the beginning of the negotiations, we have had secret deals between the Nationalist Party government and the Communist Party the African National Congress.
As students rioted and his capital went out of control, Mangope called on Viljoen to come urgently to his rescue.
He then requested from me assistance for that weekend. I then said to Mr. Mangope that I am prepared to move in farmers for this purpose. Mr. Mangope then said to me, please, as far as the farmers are concerned, I will be very happy to have them, because I believe that we have a close relationship. But please do not bring the AWB.
I emphasized to them, please, come in. Do not bring in the AWB.
Terre Blanche's men were regarded as rabid racists. The BOP regime added a warning.
And they all said to me that if you bring in the AWB, there might be a mutiny amongst their own people.
But Terre Blanche now announced that he would help Mangope, so the whole white right was going in.
At least some of the elements of the white right wing saw in this an opportunity to establish, perhaps an Afrikaner alliance with a president like Mangope, and maybe later make a deal with him for a homeland of their own or a Volksstaat of their own.
The day after Terre Blanche announced his readiness to help, part of Mangope's police force mutinied and joined the demonstrators. Law enforcement ceased. Mabata's main shopping center was pillaged. Soldiers of the BOP Defence Force were nowhere to be seen. Terre Blanche seized the moment. He issued an appeal over Radio Pretoria, a pirate station of the white right, for AWB members to gather with full kit. The more moderate Viljoen now tried to stop Terre Blanche. He did this by going to the president of the White Right Alliance, Ferdy Hartzenberg.
And then in my office, Dr. Hartzenberg phoned Mr. Eugene Terre Blanche and explained to them the whole situation, and he said, please, you are not to take any AWB members. You will not participate in the situation inside BOP Botswana. We are only going to send farmers.
Terre Blanche, who had just spoken to President Mangope, took the call.
And he said, you must not go in tonight. So I asked him why. And he said, no, they are organizing 4,000 men. So I said, I have had an agreement with the state president, and I phoned him already, and I said I will take in my men tonight, so I'm going to take in my men. So I did.
I had a call from Mr. Eugene Terre Blanche, who offered to come in and help. And I said, please don't come in.
But the AWB were going in anyway.
6700 started here from Ventersdorp. The only firearms they had was sidearms, revolvers and pistols.
The AWB's intervention was to have dramatic consequences for all white hardliners. Viljoen was determined to keep Mangope in power and the right-wing alliance intact, so he sent his men off.
3,000 to 4,000 farmers were gathering all over the Transvaal. And they then moved to BOP Botswana by means of private vehicles and unarmed, because they were going to get the arms in BOP Botswana.
Viljoen gave the job of mobilizing the force to save Mangope to a former South African Army brigadier, Doos Steyn.
Die mense wat ingegaan het nie militêre wapens saamgeneem nie, vir eenvoudige rede dat dit sou misbruik wees van 'n militêre wapen. Militêre wapens soos uitgereik in die RSA word aangewend in opdrag van die weermag. Hierdie was nie 'n opdrag van die weermag nie. Hierdie was 'n volksfront operasie. Vir daai rede is daar ooreengekom deur generaal Viljoen met generaal Turner van die Botswana, die weermag, dat die BOP weermag sou vir ons die wapens beskikbaar gestel het wat ons nodig gehad het vir die operasie.
In Pretoria, intelligence reports suggested that if Viljoen's men held BOP, the South African Defence Force, the SADF, might refuse to fire on them.